So here's the latest. Mike Lombardi, longtime Bill Belichick assistant, Cleveland Browns GM, was on the Pat McAfee show and basically said, he came out and he said, the Denver Broncos were very close to making a trade and moving off of Drew Lock, which they need to. He's the only quarterback in the league. Since he's entered the league, he's the only quarterback completing less than 60% of his throws. Little too cool for me, little too casual, too many interceptions. He ain't it, as the kids say. We got 18 starts here. He's got 59% completion percentage, 79 passer rating, 23 TDs, 18 picks. He's not it. Too casual. Just doesn't play with enough urgency. Well, he played AAU basketball. He's a little too cool for the room. And that's cool guys don't win in this league. Baker tries to be too cool. Johnny Manziel tried to be too cool. Cam Newton sometimes was more worried about being cool. Don't be cool. Be urgent. Be kind of a dork. Like every play matters. Drew Lock doesn't play with that kind of urgency. Lets too many balls go that you just wouldn't throw in high school. It's just not good enough throw. So he's done. But it's now official. Denver is looking for a quarterback now. So I'm not going to count the Niners, Atlanta, or Minnesota. All of them could draft a quarterback. I'm not going to count them. Here's the current teams that need a quarterback, and we all know. Jets, Jags, Carolina, Denver, New England, Washington, Chicago, Indy, and New Orleans. That's 9. It's almost a third of the league. What's really happening in the NFL right now, it used to be when you were a quarterback, you came into the league and you got one shot. Drew Brees was the exception. If you got hurt or you didn't work, it was over. It's all done now. You do get a second chance now. Carson Wentz is going to get one. Sam Darnold's going to get one. I think Jameis Winston's going to get one. Cam Newton got one. Marcus Mariota, I think, is going to get one. Ryan Tannehill got one. So why is that happening now? Why do quarterbacks get a second chance? There's two things. A, it's just a more transactional league. There's more trades made all the time. And quarterbacks, like everybody else, can be moved. Number two is bigger business than ever, more money than ever. GMs and coaches are just less patient. So they're just going to move off you. It doesn't mean the league is moving off you. It means your team is more willing quickly to move off you. And with this influx of terrific young college quarterbacks ready to play, teams roll the dice more. They're willing to let Joe Burrow walked in with a bad O-line and a bad team. And we knew by the second week at halftime, dude can play. Drew Lock thought he was interesting for about 5 or 6 or 7 starts. Now we got 18. Dude can't play in this league. He won't get a second shot. So, there's an old rule in the NFL. I've said this multiple times. You can't have the 4th best quarterback in a division. If you do, you got to move off it. So in the AFC West, Mahomes is number 1, Herbert's number 2, Derek Carr's number 3. Drew Lock is not 4. Marcus Mariota, the backup to Carr, is better than Drew Lock. So Drew Lock is the 5th best quarterback in his division. It doesn't work that way. You got to move off him. It's nothing against the kid, but 18 starts. He's too casual, too many picks. He's just not buttoned up. Got to move off him. Here's the other thing. Like all these teams, you have to make decisions on players. And we're seeing it all over the NFL. And when you make a decision on an employee, it could be a talk show host, it could be a quarterback, it could be a lawyer in your law firm. And you get to the end of the road, and you got to pay them a lot of money. You have to ask yourself, have they truly been committed to us? Have they given everything they could? That's why I think for New England, it was going to be hard for them to move off Brady. Brady eventually moved off New England because Tom had been so committed. Robert Kraft and Belichick knew they'd never find a quarterback that committed. I mean, you can say what you want about Brady. There's never been a quarterback that won't drink a beer in Boston during the season. And I think when you look at Ben, he's never truly been committed in the offseason. That's why he's fallen apart physically. So if I'm sitting there running the organization, we've committed to him. We've gotten him players. He hasn't committed like a Breeze physically. He doesn't commit like a Russell Wilson physically. I think he's just a very limited quarterback. I've heard this for years. He has a very simplistic audible system. They've had to cater to Ben. He doesn't get along with this coach, they fire the coach. He doesn't get along with this running back, they get rid of the running back. He can't run a more sophisticated audible system, they simplify it for Ben. It's always been bending over backwards for Ben, which would be fine if I felt I was getting the ultimate payoff. When is Pittsburgh winning big playoff games? He's aged poorly because he's never been as committed as other peers in his generation. He just hasn't been. He's not as committed as Brady. He's not as committed as Breeze. I don't think he's ever been as committed as Russell Wilson early in his career. I think Pittsburgh's done everything right. They've drafted well. They've developed well. I mean, good God, he whined about a quarterback getting drafted in the 4th round years ago. I mean, they have just bent over backwards to take care of him, and he's not paying them off for that. Making the playoffs is not a payoff for an organization with the standards of Pittsburgh. That's big for Cincinnati. That's not big for Pittsburgh. So they've gone out of their way to get rid of coaches, get rid of receivers, get rid of players, get rid of anybody that's in Ben's way. What is he giving them besides raw natural talent? Headaches. The other thing I think about is that we all know there's going to be 4 or 5 quarterbacks drafted. There's about 4 or 5 quarterbacks on the market right now. So let's talk about them. Carson Wentz is probably the most talented. Marcus Mariota was a backup, but he's got a lower ceiling, but he can play. Jimmy Garoppolo, various reports will be out there. Mitch Trubisky will be out there. And Sam Darnold. This news for me is really good for Sam Darnold. Because, earlier today I said there's 9 teams, and I wasn't even counting Minnesota, Atlanta, San Francisco. I said there's 9 teams that need a quarterback. This sounds like 10. That's a third of the league. So here's the teams today. So here are the teams that need a quarterback. Jags, Jets. Jets don't need it, but they're going to draft one. Jags, Jets, Panthers, Broncos, Patriots, Washington, Bears, Colts, Saints, Steelers. So there you go. That's 10. Sam Darnold, Washington has shown interest. They've got a really good defense and a really smart veteran coach. The Colts have reportedly shown interest. Great O-line, good coach, great GM. San Francisco, I know, is interested in Darnold. And now I think Pittsburgh would make a run at him. I think he's sort of a tough alpha. He's Bradshaw, Big Ben, Darnold. They're kind of guys. They're kind of alphas. I think he plays into that. And here's the thing with Darnold. Wentz is expensive. Darnold's not. Mariota's got a pretty low throwing ceiling. Darnold does not. Jimmy G has injuries. Darnold does not. This is really good for Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's going to end up massively upgrading to a really good team. Either the Colts, San Francisco, Pittsburgh, Washington. None of those would be bad fits. 2 defensive coaches, 2 offensive coaches. But when I hear this news, my takeaway is Sam's going to end up somewhere. He's only 23 years old. The NFL now is much more about giving quarterbacks second chances. The reasons I stated earlier, it's become much more of a transactional league, even for quarterbacks. And secondly, GMs and coaches they're just less patient. They're going to, even if they'll move off you, even if the league won't, teams will just move off you now. You didn't used to do that. It used to be there was one new quarterback that came into the league every year out of college, maybe 1.5. Now you're getting to the point where it's 4 and 5 guys that can play. So this year we got Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence, and Mac Jones. Mac Jones to me is too much of a pocket guy, but he'll last. He'll go somewhere. If he gets a good offensive line, Mac Jones could win some games. So the Steelers general manager does not commit to Big Ben. If you're a Steeler fan, just ask yourself this, if this upsets you. What are you getting for Big Ben now? What's he giving you? Getting to the playoffs doesn't mean anything for Pittsburgh. That's like saying for the Dodgers or the Yankees, I made the play for the Packers. I made the playoffs. You think that's the standard in Green Bay, is making the playoffs? Pittsburgh's arguably, outside of Dallas, the biggest brand in this league. Don't become Dallas. Don't pay players more than don't pay good players great money. Right now, Ben is a good player. You're paying him great money. Salary cap league, fastest way to kill a culture. Pay good players great money. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.